Yo, what it is, what it does, with the name of Danny Pitchek, and I'd like to welcome you back to another episode of the Big T Debate. If you're not so familiar with what goes down on this channel, we pretty much just talk about everything that is related to music and pop culture. And speaking of pop culture and music, there's a lot of that has been going down in the world of music, Mumzanzi, and I found something really disturbing this past week on Sunday. And at first when I saw it, I was like, okay, let me not just read into the situation too much. It probably isn't as bad as it is, because we have our own, songs that we listen to. I want to even go off the rhymes for a bit. There's a band that I used to listen to back in the day called Band of Horses. I'm not so sure if you know about those dudes, but whenever I was sad and going through a breakup, there was a song that I used to play by them called The Funeral. And it's weird, you can see how much there's double standards to just, how we react to certain situations. Sometimes you find that people might be even playing sad songs when they should be, playing happy songs in the happiest moments of their lives. And seeing that I just gave you context of what I'm about to drop down to you, what I found disturbing as I was scrolling down on Twitter was this fleet that I came across by AKA. And, at first I was like, okay, Piss on Your Grave as a song, just to low-key announce your comeback to just, the social media space, is a weird song to just choose, play. Especially when you think about, just the controversy that's actually looming around, his life and, everything that's just surrounding his life in this current state. He just lost his fiance. And, obviously people are going to pick at him for just choosing that as a song. It's pretty obvious. Like, if you play a song like Piss on Your Grave on your Insta story, what do you expect? People are just gonna start just doing 1+1 about daddy lolo about okay, demand bila when it comes to his whole entire situation with what went down with his fiance. He doesn't really care, and if that didn't add more fuel to the whole thing, it almost seems like there was a whole build up to this whole situation. And I'm not saying build up in the sense that, okay, we finally know that this dude might have played a hand in, her passing away. And I like to say allegedly. I'll try to find a way somewhere on this video just to put something in bold so I don't get in trouble. But when you think about that interview that he did the previous weeks, I don't know, 3-4 weeks ago, it's probably a month right now, he was just portraying weird signs, especially when it comes to like his whole entire body language and how he was approaching this whole thing, I remember just watching Naki's interview with this lady who studies body language, and one of the main things that they were highlighting was what I was just talking about, like just the body and how it was moving, and just how he was responding to certain things. There's certain ways in which someone should portray hurt when being interviewed, and he was doing the complete opposite. In situations where people thought that, okay, this dude's gonna break down in tears after being asked a certain question, or him just being given that platform to actually reflect on certain things that happen within his relationship. But the complete opposite just played out. And fast forward to what I started off by mentioning in terms of like choice of song and it being a whole entire build up. It makes it easier for people now to just start putting 1 and 2 together, or 1+1, like I mentioned, to just say, okay, maybe this dude might have played a hand in that whole situation. And I don't know, Twitter's like a crazy world, and I guess it's just one of those things where I like talking about, but I like giving the audience themselves just a way to just deliberate and just figure out for themselves if they feel like, okay, was the Twitter world being extreme in the way that they were approaching the thing? Because I did mention, like, I have a weird palette in terms of like song choices. I remember even just being in class one time, and I had this module that I was doing via this degree that I'm still studying even now. It's called industrial psychology, right? And one of my lecturers was pretty much just asking us, we did like an exercise, and I was or just draw like one of your favorite emojis. And I was like, my favorite emoji is like the tear emoji. He's like, what do you mean you like an emoji that portrays you crying? And I'm like, I believe to some degree that kind of explains who I am in terms of just being an emotional person. Everything's just teary to me, And I'm not saying teary in the sense of being sad, but like if I were to just experience a big win in my life, I'm pretty sure even if I don't show out the tears will be running down, you know, my heart and whatever from the inside. I know it's a lot to take in because, you know, I really chopped down a lot of things, you know, gave you a little insight on my life, which I wasn't really supposed to because, you know, I'm trying this whole routine of being locked off because, you know, I come from a weird experience with these babies. But yeah, I'm not going to talk about that for now. And just to add more to the controversy that's been going down on Twitter, seeing that, you know, I just wrapped up this whole thing about AKA and I'm really just leaving it for you guys to just, you know, deliberate. I witnessed something really disturbing too. You know, as you all know, this whole thing of, you know, digital content creation, there's a lot of things that, you know, give people that liberty of feeling free, you know, with whatever it is that they create. And I'm not so sure if you know about this dude called Slick Talk. There were points, you know, I'm guilty. I'm a part of the reason why this dude might have blown up. And I'm not saying I'm legitimately the dude who picked up this dude and made him do what he needed to do for him to get where he is today. But I'm just saying, for me to celebrate him whenever he was just taking people down or putting people down, I was part and parcel of the reason, you know, like just laughing off. And a few days ago, I was on Twitter just checking out what was happening on the trending list, and I saw that Bonang was trending, and I'm like, why is Bonang trending? Only to realize that this dude Slick talked, that I feel like, you know, I'm part and parcel of the reason. I mean, everyone is, because like, there's this thing that we do as black folk and just, you know, people in general, like when someone's really being super controversial or, you know, doing the most extreme things, instead of actually looking deep into the character that is actually doing whatever it is that they're doing, we tend to just, you know, look away with our other eye and just keep it closed and just, you know, focus on the negative things that sort of at that moment really feel like it's the greatest of all things. And this dude was just pretty much talking about how he's not scared of Bonang. He heard someone was talking about how he's gonna get sued by Bonang. And he's like, yo, Bonang's been, you know, allegedly dropping men and she can't keep a man. And what's her reason for her to like sue me? And it made me think about, you know, this whole idea of like, okay, as much as like we live in this whole digital space and there aren't any rules, because it really is like that, you know, when you think about traditional media platforms or your radio, your print, your TV, there are rules that govern, you know, certain things. You know, that's why you will find that annoying, what's this thing? This annoying ad that used to come on ETV, and it's pretty much just like a platform that was opened by the BCCSA for people to just, you know, lay their complaints. You know, whenever you feel like there's something disturbing that you saw on TV that your kid was not supposed to see, or if there's anyone that you heard on the radio also, because like I know YFM has that ad also playing on the radio. So if you feel like someone is using vulgar words or like something inappropriate, you report them. And when it comes to the whole digital space and just people being on online radio or podcast or just content creation in itself, it's kind of hard to just go past that rule, or if there are any actual laws that govern people in terms of what they need to say. As far as I know, I know that people are allowed to do whatever it is that they can do. For the most part, like Batwa and Chiba really famous just off just talking a whole lot of smack. And that's pretty much who's this dude? The slick talk. That's his whole scheme, you know? He is famous off just talking a whole lot of smack about people. But, you know, one thing that I wanted to bring across to people is like, it's cool, you know, we all trying to get coin, right? But like, it should get to a point where at least you should be thinking in your own, you know, human brain and thinking about the effects that what it is that you're doing might do onto someone else's pockets or even someone else's image. And in as much as I would like to believe that Bonang is going to sue this dude, I find it really hard to believe that, you know, this whole thing's going to break through just because he's also hard to reach. I saw someone on Twitter mentioning that he doesn't even have a Twitter page no more. And not saying that we don't have, you know, good lawyers out there or like investigators that might find this dude, but when you think about it, like, you're going to sue someone who barely makes $500,000 in a year, let alone 10K in a year. So what is it that you're going to gain from that whole situation? Even though you have a lot to lose in terms of what this dude is actually doing. So I don't know, I just wanted to bring out this whole idea, like, people should be more aware of, you know, their platforms and what they are doing, and, you know, the potential harm that it could actually do to other people's platforms, you know. Like, we should just do better in terms of like how we carry ourselves on the internet space. But, you know, on the lighter side of things, you know, I've been talking about a whole lot of heavy stuff. King Monada, Ashifari, ano niya kaditi, Holal Big Zulu. And the video in itself had me cracking for some time. And, you know, the funny thing about that whole video is, like, in as much as, like, it all seems staged, but I think it's a whole build-up to a bigger situation. Because Shapo, this dude was in the ring demanding that Big Zulu gives him a date. Mara, nasigas nahana. I don't know if we think along the same lines, but I think this dude might actually want to create a song with this guy, you know? And it was hard for my brain not to even think along those lines of, like, what if this is, like, you know, a build-up, like I did mention, to something bigger, like a song. I know King Monada, Big Zulu in a song, it's the weirdest of all things to picture. And you might even be thinking to yourself, like, yo, Pacheco, what is it that you're talking about? Like, Big Zulu and King Monada, they come from different worlds. But, like, if you think about it, Big Zulu's been charting there on his end. He's not even compromising this whole thing of, like, I'm gonna go against what I'm doing, which is, you know, make songs in Zulu. He's been pushing that for the longest of times, and it's been working for him. You know, he's been pushing music in Zulu, and, you know, respectively on the other side for the Limpopo born King Monada, he's been doing the same thing, you know. And I think they could come up with a really dope song, you know, if, you know, people give them a chance. But I was gonna say, like, who do you have your money on? But we pretty much know who's gonna win this whole fight, and I guess, you know, we can only just wait for now and just see what happens as, you know, time goes. Hopefully we get a date. And if we do get a date, I think that's going to be really exciting to see. Speaking of things that are exciting for me, I was just thinking about this whole thing of coverage on the radio. You know, I speak a lot about hip-hop because, you know, I love hip-hop so much. But, you know, I feel like sometimes I'm doing an injustice on the house guys. And just last week, just after listening to Artwork Sound's album that was released under Ashmid Hour, which is owned by Oscar and Bo, I was just thinking about this whole coverage thing. Like, yo, when last did you go on the radio and actually see a house song charting on the Metro FM Top 40 chart, or let alone just listen to a house song on a prime time slot? Because, you know, I think that's something that's really lacking. But, like, you know, we consume house on, like, genre specific shows as opposed to just actually listening to house on primetime slots. Because last time I actually heard a proper song that was charting the house, it was like Julian Gomez's 1,000 Memories. And ever since then, it seems like, you know, there's this imbalance within the world of house. You know, I've always thought that, you know, the hip hop guys always find a way to just, you know, get back on their feet, and that's something that's been evident ever since, you know, that golden age that I talked about in the previous episode, the 2015, 2016. And now hip-hop is not as much as a booming genre as it was back then. Mara, they find a way within the space it's over. Okay, we're still here. But with house, it's like, it just has completely gone underground, and we're not seeing too much of it on, you know, the primetime slots that I've been saying. And I don't know, I guess, you know, I just want to throw this one out to the compilers in these mainstream, you know, radio stations and even the community stations. Like, yo, you guys need to do more, you know. It's like, these dudes dropped an amazing project, you know. It's called okay, now I forgot the name. Need to remember the name. But anyway, just Artwork Sounds, Ashmid Hour Records, or just check out Oscar NBO's page. I'm pretty sure you're gonna find these dudes. The album's like really incredible. Wish I could remember, you know, what the name of the album was. And, you know, I'm just looking down my PC right now, and there's a whole lot of things that I feel like need to be celebrated. And one things that I felt was a dope moment to see, just, you know, being on Twitter, was this big deal that Cassper himself was just mentioning for some time, and he signed a deal that apparently is going to be worth 100 million. I'm not so sure if this is like a projection in terms of like what they're going to make in numbers, or this is based off just like the cash injection that they got via this deal that he signed with Lekau, Seho. Please forgive me if I'm getting this dude's name wrong, but yeah, the dude who owns Drip. This thing has been, in the works for some time, because like there's a point in time where now I'm already there really too, and it's ironic because like this is the big T debate, and we're talking about people who pretty much signed the biggest deal of their careers based off just drinking tea. So you can see how much there is power in drinking tea, and that's just me just pushing some free promo. But yeah, there was this whole tea thing that was being pushed. Shout out to Jacob Zuma for starting this whole tea thing, and through that we have what is set to be 100 million rand deal that is going to give birth to a new brand called Root of Fame. Not too much details there for us to just consume so that we can better understand this whole thing. But from what I saw from the IG live on Slick on Life, they said that they're going to be releasing a bunch of products, and a lot of equity related things are going to be a part of this big deal that they signed. So hopefully, as time goes, you can get, more of an understanding of what that means, and what would that mean in terms of, them as individuals and just the game in itself, from a cultural perspective. And just, to get us to a point where we could finally close this thing off. Yeah. I don't even know if you're going to get enough time to actually discuss all these things, but still sticking on this house thing, video AVK, and he was like doing this whole transition from house to piano, ne? And then yang hopeta this whole thing that Pori was trying to push to Shimza and Heavy K himself in terms of like trying to get these dudes on piano, right? And then it made me think about diversity, in as much as like Mapori sa onyoro dimense apushe piano, and he's well aware of these guys' platforms, because like Heavy K's been there in the game, he's got hits to back it up, he's done a lot. Same applies with Shimza. Shimza's traveled all around the world, played in the biggest of all festivals, so he's aware of these guys' platforms and what it could do for the game in itself. So like I said, it just made me think about diversity. Like, we already get annoyed as individuals, I don't know if this applies for you, I don't know where you live or whatever, but for me, like, I know what the local events come on for a long time, and it's still kind of the same thing. You go to an event and when I line up, and that lineup's got like probably 6 to 7 people playing piano, and then maybe if you're lucky you might get like 1 or 2 people who are DJs that play hip-hop, and then I guess the rest is just like left for performers, and performers could also just be performing piano, and then just a little of that hip hop on those sets. So it just made me think about, like, if we want Heavy K or even a Prince KB and Shimza to start playing piano, would there ever be space for a young kid who's trying to also just tap into the game and do piano? Because like it's gonna take a whole lot, because like everyone's producing now, so what's gonna make you special besides you just having a hit, So it even just took me back to this whole thing of even Nota himself talking about how, yeah, these guys are busy, they'll push Afro Tag, Shimza, Black Coffee, they're pushing a sound that is not even originally from, SA, and how that in itself is not benefiting us, where they should be just, the ones being patriotic and carrying piano to the world. But then if all these DJs from Zanzibar have piano, then what's going to bring this whole idea, like, South Africa is a rainbow nation, and we're diverse in, everything that we have? Because I think part of what makes house exciting, or just SA music in itself exciting, is that so that we can discover in terms of like sub-genres, there's Gom, there's Amapiano, there's Deep House, there's Afro Tech. there's even a genre that pretty much some people kind of credit to just giving birth to what is piano today. I mean, besides Kwaito, and that's Bacardi. What I would be doing, I love tell cheap and what. Although it's like it's Bacardi, it's really fast paced. If you are a person from Durban, it might actually kind of remind you of Gom, what Gom is, even though it's got its other elements to it. Sometimes, I feel like I'm about to rob a bank when I play Bacardi, I feel like, since, I was even talking about, Cassper signing a 100 million rand deal. I'm the type to play such music, like play Bacardi before I go and just, do a heist or even get that much money in my bank account. So that's how really rich and diverse, the sounds are in SA in terms of, the dance culture and whatever. And I know I might not be covering a whole lot with regards to just, the dance scene, but just, me talking about that in itself just gives you a whole idea of like, okay, how diverse and rich the sound is. So if we get to a point where we want everyone to just push piano, then Raffaella, bila. Even though, like, I'm pretty psyched of, how far the genre in itself has gone, because like now it's over there. Like I remember, like there was a point where we were listening to E04 Soul's mixes before we even had like vocals on my piano in itself, and now we're here, and just to find in closing, I know I've been saying in closing, there's a whole lot of things that have been happening. I just want to give this platform, or not even give this platform, just give this moment to actually shout out Banks and Venom. These are two prominent DJs from SA, and they're the main reasons why like I locked down, we were sleeping late, because these dudes had like this bedroom style kind of lockdown radio live IG, and now big corporates like YFM have given them the platform to now do this on a bigger scale, and they got a new show / podcast by the name of the Banks and Venom show, and got the opportunity to watch the first episode, and they had the likes of Uncle Vinny and Major League on it, and it made me think about how great it is for someone that's actually pushing and wanting to get to a point where they can start getting recognized by these corporates, and also just this thing of like people being maybe negative about their positions in life in terms of content creation, because there's a whole lot of people who are creating a whole lot of content in the world, and they feel like moba and what they have may not be enough, but it shows that big corporates like YFM are putting in the money and investing into this whole thing of podcasting, and that's something that's really dope, and I think that's where we're gonna leave it off today. Had a whole lot to talk about, a whole lot to say, and I can only hope that you keep on sharing this to your friends, sharing this to your family members, or whoever that you feel is really close to your heart, because everything that we do here is from the heart, to you, for you to just continue sharing this spirit and this whole love thing that we're talking about on the Big T Debate. I go with the name of Danny Pacheco, and it's been lovely just talking to you. Let's meet next week, same time, same place.